Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us, Elizabeth. We're excited to interview you as episode 177 of Ask Tamily.
Wow, that's amazing.
It really is. I honestly don't believe the number every single week. 177.
That's amazing. You guys have done such a great job keeping that going.
Thank you. It definitely takes a little village, and obviously the support and interest from everyone definitely helps too. So hopefully we'll continue it every week forever.
Yes, it's great. It really is fascinating to hear what everyone's doing and learn more about everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I think it kind of gives like motivation and connectivity, besides obviously the fact that we're all really connected from working out and things, but to just give another, level of getting to know someone. And there's always like a little tip or something that I learn every single interview, no matter how long you've been doing the method, there's always something more to learn.
Yeah, that's so true. It just unfolds and unfolds personally and community-wise. It's amazing how that just plays.
So let's start with some of our planned questions. And of course, we'll take questions from the chat as well. But what we always like to ask first is, when and how did you get involved with the Tracy Anderson method?
Back in 2011, I was very frustrated with my body, with myself, and had tried different fitness methods as an adult. I'd grown up doing a lot of cardio and gym work, and my mom used to take me to the gym and with her, and so I was very familiar with exercise, but I just never felt like I got, like, my body, there wasn't a connection between like size and shape, and I just felt just angry and frustrated. I had a lot of things going on in my life too at the time, and I felt like really overwhelmed by the process of what do I do, and I think I was trying race walking at the time, trying to get some cardio in, and I had done like the super slow weightlifting kind of work, and I was just in this frustration, and I don't really know where Tracy came in. Like, I guess I just feel like, my prayer was help and my prayer was answered. It was like, it just, this, the fairy ninja showed up, and this was in 2011. And I don't think it was Oprah, because I wasn't really watching Oprah consistently, but I decided I liked how she talked about the body and the design work. And so I ordered her Metamorphosis DVDs, and that's when I started doing it. But the irony is that when I got the package in the mail to start, that morning I had gone out to do race walking, and in my frustration and angst, I tore my soleus muscle.
Wow.
So
that makes it a memorable day.
Right? And so then I get this in the mail, and I'm all excited to start, but I cannot walk for like 8 weeks. So, so I ordered like her perfect design, and I started with that. And then as I healed with my leg, then I started the Metamorphosis and went through the continuity. So it's kind of this rough little start with it, but it was amazing that I just felt committed to it from the beginning, and I think the thing that kind of clinched it was that she had it figured out. Like, she had, like, you do this, and you will get this. And I felt like that is such a relief. Like, I don't have to try to design a strategy. I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to do anything except show up. And for me, that was a relief, and just meant so much. So that was how I got started with it.
Yeah, that is definitely a great point about her, because I mean, it seems so stressful to me to have to think, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and what am I going to do today? And
Right.
is that going to be the thing I need to get, to my goals? Like, at least you know what to expect with Tracy. There's going to be a new workout every week. It's, going to work to the design that she plans. And if that's the thing for you, then that's like your direction.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't have to overthink it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to over strategize. I don't have to outthink her. And I just totally with the motto, trust Tracy, and I just go with it, you know?
So did you complete Metamorphosis and then all of Continuity, all 4 years? Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It was, it was quite, it was quite something. And I was actually on the original forum back when Tracy had the forum originally with her uh, metamorphosis and the continuity.
Yeah, without even any pictures or anything. And now we have videos.
Right. I know. It was so funny. And one of the first people who I met on the forum, Ariana,
Mm-hmm.
Wellness Mama, I think is her handle.
Okay.
She was so kind. I remember we had to do some stick with the broomstick and a rubber band, and it was tied on our ankles, and we had to lift our legs and do this thing. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like I was, a Tracy move, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember at the time she was so kind. I posted on the forum like, I don't, know what I'm doing. And she actually uploaded a video and showed me what she was doing and
Oh my
how to
God.
do it. And I remember just being so touched by that. Like, I didn't know her. And for me, technology was really new at the time. Like to send a video to someone, I was like, what? Like, this is so amazing. And I just never forgot that. And I kind of feel like that's the epitome of Tamily. It's like,
Totally.
oh, this person was right there to help me out. And yeah, so I just was really appreciative and touched by that. And yeah, we had that original forum and then we got kind of tossed off that. But yeah.
That is so amazing though to think about that spirit existing like before the Tamily even really existed. Like it just, I mean, it's just so amazing to connect in this way and to have such a community that is so different than like any other communities. And to think that started before we actually were connecting on Instagram is amazing.
Yes, it really was. We were all very connected, very tied into each other on the forum. And I remember the date it went down. It was in November, I think. And there was no warning. It was just gone. And we all just were like, how do we connect? Because back then it wasn't a Facebook thing. And I remember Tiffany Ann had this, the wherewithal and the savvy to put us all together into the TAM community on Facebook. So that's how that got started. And I remember just being so relieved that we could reconnect.
Yeah, that is so amazing. I mean, that was like years before Instagram ever was thought. That's amazing.
It was before Instagram, and it was even new to have a Facebook page. Like that was really new to be able to communicate that way and through Messenger and stuff. So it was pretty exciting.
So, did you switch to streaming like as soon as streaming came about, or what was kind of that timing when you finished continuity?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was 2014 when streaming started, and I still had a little bit of continuity to go. And so I did the rest of continuity, but I also signed up for streaming because I wanted to see what it was about because I was excited about it. So I signed up for it, and I finished up the continuity as well, and then it just kind of overlapped. And but at the time the streaming was just the one class, and so it was pretty intense to go into that one class out of continuity. And So yeah, but that's how I started with it. It was in
That's
when this,
amazing. That's
yeah.
quite a journey. Like, have
Yes.
you ever experienced times when you sort of did veer away from the method or didn't feel motivated to continue with it?
That's yes, I've always been committed to the method. There was a time in my life in 2014. It was a pretty intense year for me emotionally. My husband was very ill, and so getting on the mat was a lot of grief processing. And it was, and kind of a funny story I have about talking to my husband about signing up for streaming. He was just amazed at my commitment level getting on the mat, and he's like, you know, you're just like an athlete, you're out there every day. And you know, he's carrying my luggage and it's got my ankle weights and my you know, hand weights and whatever, you know. And I remember telling him I want to sign up for the streaming, and how much it was. And he's a business person, so he was doing the math, and he's like, and you get new content every week. And I'm like, yeah. And he's, you know, figuring out, he's like, well, you have to do it. And he goes, and she's not charging enough.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. That is so funny. Oh my gosh, that is the best
Yeah.
story. People always think it's so expensive, and I'm like, I'd pay 3 times what she charges us. Like, it's so worth it. But
Right.
oh, that's
Right.
great.
Yeah. So I thought that was so great. As a businessman, he's looking at her going, whoa, you need to be charging more for what you're
That
doing.
is so funny. You have to do it, and she's not charging enough.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. That's so awesome for him to be supportive too, because I mean, that really makes a difference.
It does. It does. And so in 2014, you're back to your question. But it was a little bit, I was committed to doing it and I did it, but it was really hard, just physically and emotionally for me to do it during that time. So I did go back to doing some of the continuity again, just repeating it, because I just needed, they didn't have beginners at the time. You know, it was just the intense advanced.
Yeah.
And then my husband died in 2015. And so I was it was hard for me to get on the mat and do advanced, you know, like I think if at the time they had beginners, I think I would have been able to do it like every day and work through it. But I had to just not do it as much during that time. I was trying to kind of keep myself together and keep working and all that kind of stuff. But I think that for me, I define consistency as checking in with yourself every day, not being on the mat every day. So even though I was not on the mat every day, I was consistently checking in with myself, like, can I do this today? You know? And so I do have gaps where I wasn't on the mat, but I was always in communication with where I was at and Tracy, and I was still committed to the method, if that makes sense.
It does, which is actually like what she, you know, tells us to do. Like, that is, you have to have that honest conversation with yourself, and you know, if it means that that's not the day for you to do it. And I think you make such a good point, because it is about emotionally processing. And if, you know, it's not the day that you want to be emotionally processing, then you don't need to do it that day. Like, you have to, you know, have that emotional and physical conversation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I actually found out at the time that my cortisol levels had dropped to 0. Like, I had no energy. And so I really had to do some rebuilding over these last few years. So 2015, for the 2015 to 2018, I was really doing a lot of physical rebuilding of my stamina, my strength, and just emotionally rebuilding, you know, myself. So So yeah, I was always in the TAM process, but just not in the advanced lane all the time. So
I think that's a really important message. And thank you for sharing that, because, sometimes people will really beat themselves up if they feel like they can't do advanced, but there's all kinds of reasons where you need to be where you are at different times in your life.
right, right. And it's a fluid situation, life, and and I feel like life, you really have to be in present time with your body and where you're at, and the body's always in present time, and checking in and doing what you need to do that day. And if you're true to that, then there's no regret or no you can't go back on yourself.
So what are some of the things that you feel like make the method the right method for you?
Her strategy in terms of like joint connection, lengthening the muscles and keeping them lengthened against the bone. I feel like that's a significant change in how I've worked my body in the past. And the mobility of the spine, I feel like that is really, that resonates for me, having that spinal mobility and strength. And also finding where your weaknesses are and rebuilding those, knowing where your weaknesses are and bringing that balance to your body. I feel like that's been such a huge significant for me. So
so especially since you did do other types of exercise and everything before, what kind of results did you see in the beginning of doing the method, and then what kind of results have you seen over the years?
I like the way you ask the question, results over the years, because I feel like results kind of is a little bit of a misleading word, because results kind of implies that there's an end game. And I don't think there's an end game. I think results are continuous, like you said. And so I've seen my body become stronger, more balanced. People I'm in the dance community, and people always comment about how balanced my body is. And that's completely Tracy. It's not genetic. It wasn't genetically given to me,
Yeah. And that's so important, I think, that you see that kind of thing like build over time, that it's not just the 90 days of metamorphosis. It's every single different phase of the method. Exactly. So what's your routine now? Like, which workout do you usually do, and how often?
I do the intermediate, and I pretty much live in the intermediate lane. I do advanced periodically, and during the pandemic, I did more of the advanced. But intermediate seems to fit my mental space, my work, kind of with all the other things I have going on. And I do beginners periodically. I dance during the week. So if I have a lot of dancing work and coaching work, then I'll do beginners here and there. Like I'll do maybe 3 or 4 intermediate and supplement with a couple of beginners, or maybe take an extra rest day depending. But I'm primarily in the intermediate and occasional beginner.
I feel the same way. I'm like, I don't know if I ever will care about being in advanced.
Right?
I see advanced moves and I'm like, no, let's go over to intermediate.
Right?
What would you say about the Tamily inspires you the most?
Well, I feel like everyone in the Tamily is so like fearless and tenacious and disciplined. And each woman in the Tamily inspires me in that way. You know, the example that I gave about Ariana sending me the video, you know, I feel like if anyone contacted me in the Tamily and said, hey, I need this, can you help me out? I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know, and I feel like they would do the same for me. And so, yeah, that's just inspiring to know that you have these points of light out in the world on a mat.
Yeah.
I always like to say, see you on the mat, because I feel like when I get on the mat, I say hello to the Tamily and these points of light all over the world who are taking care of themselves and interested in healing themselves and taking care of themselves. And I'm participating by taking care of myself too. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's just such an inspiring space to be in.
Yeah, it is amazing how we can all be connected. 'Cause you're totally right. Like, I don't feel like I work out at home alone. I feel
Right.
like the Tamily is with you.
Yes, exactly.
So we have a question in the chat from Nicole.
Okay.
He says, will you tell us about how you started with ballroom dance, and have you always been a dancer?
That's a great question. I have not always been a ballroom dancer. I danced a little bit as a kid. I took some ballet tap, but not extensively. And I think deep down, I always wanted to be a dancer. And it's funny because people would always ask me through the years, like, they would say, oh, you're moving this way, are you a dancer? And I'd be like, no, I'm not a dancer. But there'd be this part of me that'd be like, I want to be, but I'm not, you know, like, and I kind of thought I had missed the boat. Like, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm, you know, 50. I just turned 56 yesterday. So I thought,
happy birthday.
Thank you. And I thought, oh no, I'm not a dancer because I didn't start as a kid. And so I just took this free introductory lesson about 3 years ago and started dancing. And I love it so much. And the way that I'm going to tell you this kind of personal story, but there were days before I started dancing, when I was doing the method, and I would need to get myself on the mat, right? You know, looking for that push. And I used to say, in my mind, pretend you're a dancer and you need to do this so you can dance. Like, this is your workout. This is preparing you to dance. And
oh my gosh.
And I would just get on the mat. I'm like, I have to do this so I can dance. And I had no dance plans at the time. I was so like worked into trying to take care of, you know, day-to-day life. And then when I started dancing, it was like, oh my gosh, this all came true. Like my wish on the mat, you know, of get on the mat. And so now when I go to dance lessons and I work with ballroom dance coaches, they look at me and they're like, what are you doing? Why do you have such good posture? How do you move like that? And, you know, they'll put me in different dance positions and I can balance in those positions very easily. And they're just like, what, you know, where did you come from? And I'm like, I came from the mat, you know?
That's so amazing. Nicole has a good follow-up question for us. She said, how did your mom influence the way that you approach your own health and wellness?
Well, my mom, she always worked out, went to the gym. I remember as a kid, she would go to the gym and she would have the neighbor across the street babysit us for an hour while she would go to the gym. And then she would babysit the other lady's kids while she went to the gym. So they had this trade-off thing.
Aww.
You know? So it was important enough to them to trade, you know, do an hour trade of babysitting so that they could each go to the gym and work out. So it was always really important. And then she would also make us dance with her around the house. I remember Tony Orlando and Dawn, Sweet Gypsy Rose. And Who's in the Strawberry Patch with Sally. Pretty funny little songs. You know the lyrics, but she had my brother and I, we'd just dance around the house, playing around, dancing, and going through the living room. And then I remember her doing at the ladies' gym, she had these routines that she had worked out, similar to Tracy's. They were mat routines, doing leg work, counting to 8 to the songs, doing these leg lifts and exercise, and they'd be these whole routines for like half hour, leading a group, the group of the ladies in the exercise room. So she always had us moving around and being active. So she was very important in that. I kind of consider her my first cardio dance partner, because we also, as adults, attended some cardio, aerobic classes, or they were called at the time. So
so SJB wants to know if you also do Tracy's dance cardio.
I don't. I'm so bad. I really want to, like, seriously, I keep in my mind, I think, gosh, I really should learn those dance routines and do them. I learn a lot of choreography at the dance studio. So I really put a lot of work into my mental work into those. But I do have a wish to do that. I look at SASTAM and, the cardio queens, and I just think, wow, they're amazing. But I'm not that good at that. I do ballroom rounds as my cardio. So, but yeah, no, I don't. Hopefully one day I'll get to do that.
Well, there's all different types of us within the method. I mean, and I think too, you kind of go through phases. Like, you might have years where you don't do Tracy's dance cardio, and then you get into it for a while, or it's just. And luckily, we have that choice available to us.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Like we said earlier, it changes. So that's a good point.
Yep. Have you ever been to a Vitality Week or a studio?
I have. I got to go to the Trainer Connect in July of 2019, I believe it was. Okay. And I met Maria Kelling and Olivia Schaefer, and I think those were and Stacey Brown. Tracy from
Yes.
And so I got to meet them, and we did the Trainer Connect, and that was so much fun. It was at the Studio City studio. And then I don't know, 2019, I always just had this intuition to just do as much as I could. And so in January, I went to the Vitality Week at Studio City, and I think it was one of the last Vitality Weeks before everything shut down. And Tracy couldn't make it to that one, but we had Maria again, and Olivia and Maria D came out and spent the weekend with us. So I got to meet Maria D, which was a pleasure. She's a really neat lady, as well as Maria Kelling's pretty special too. So it was a fun weekend.
That sounds awesome. Yeah.
But I haven't met Tracy.
Oh, goodness. Well, that has to be on your bucket list for sure.
Right.
I hope we can get back to some Vitality Week soon, or at least Tamily meetups at studios or something, because, oh gosh, I mean, for a while, it's like, I don't think I can survive a year without a Vitality Week, and now it's been 2.
Right. Yeah, those were special. Those were really great. But it's so, I think having everyone do the same workout in all the studios every week is just such a uniting method, I guess, uniting force, because even though we're all doing the method, that's one level of it, but we're all doing the same moves. That's like the next level, so we are all together. It's not like, this studio is doing this workout and that studio is doing another, and it just really unifies us in a really unique way.
Yeah, that is definitely something about streaming that I feel like, kind of took that to another level, because when I did like just a little bit of continuity, I was always looking for someone who was like in the same week as me. And, it's
Right.
hard to like who's in, whatever level, who's also hip centric or whatever. Like, and you feel like you want to connect about that actual workout. And that's something that
Right.
now, like, we can be completely unified about.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Do you remember the rules around continuity? Like, I feel like there was some rules about like if you had 4 or 5 days off in a row, then you had to go back to the previous level because she was doing so much structural work
Mm-hmm.
on your muscles. And so um wasn't it something like three, I can't remember how it worked, but I remember being really paranoid about having a day off.
And I just hated doing the same workout for 10 days. So I
Yeah.
don't know why. If I would have thought, I could just do the same one for 7 and then switch levels, that
Mhm.
would have made a big difference to me. But I was so excited about being allowed to change at 7 days once it was in streaming. So funny. Um, we have another question from, oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm losing your audio.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Oh, no, you're back. Okay. I don't know what happened there. Nicole has another question for us. She says, what is your greatest takeaway from the lecture at the Trainer Connect?
Oh, gosh. Those were a while ago. My brain. um, that's a good question. My biggest takeaway, I think one was just meeting everyone. That was huge. Not just like, Maria Kelling was awesome. Olivia, they're all fantastic, but also getting to meet other the
Yeah.
Tamily members. I think that was the biggest takeaway. I know that there were a lot of techniques and there was a lot of, just participating. I think bringing your body into that and participating, and the heat and humidity is like whole nother level, whole nother level there. Um, but I think the biggest takeaway was the gift of meeting everyone. It was just such a beautiful experience, and really meant a lot to me to connect with women in that way. It was really I just felt really like, wow, this was touching moment.
Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely exciting to meet the trainers and to meet Tracy, but I swear I get as excited to just meet a regular Tamily member as to meet them. Like,
Exactly.
it
It's
is.
like we're all celebrities, you know?
Yes. Well, and I mean, plus, because we see each other on Instagram, like the first time I went to a Vitality Week and walked into the room, I was like, I can't believe I know every single one of your faces because of Instagram.
Right, right. It's so great. It's really amazing how that works.
It really, really is. How did you actually discover the Tamily being on Instagram? So you did connect in Facebook first, right?
Right. Yes, actually, I was around when the word Tamily came up. That was, I mean, I'm not that tech savvy, which you can kind of tell by I'm holding this phone and the lighting's a little funky, but so Facebook was kind of new, but I remember that whole lingo being developed. I was around when Jillian from South Africa and I think her name was Angie, came up with that word, and they went out and visited Tracy, and they were invited to, meet with her. And so I was around when all that was developed. And I don't really know how I crossed over into Instagram. I think people started talking about it, and I was watching it for a while before I started posting, because I didn't know like the whole video and editing thing, and that seemed like a lot for me to try to kind of figure out. So I was more of a kind of a watcher, I guess you could say. I really wanted to be involved, and I felt like I was, to the degree I could be at the time. And but yeah, I think I posted in October of 2018, so it was pretty late. So I think sometimes people think I haven't done it for a while because I posted so late, but yeah, it was yeah, that was just when I first got up the nerve to, okay, how do I figure out this editing thing? And
That is a long time, because you definitely started the method like way before I did. But I think I was posting on Instagram like in the end of 2015 or something. So
oh, okay, yeah.
yeah, it goes way back for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is something that you can do today that you could not do before the method? And it can be physical or non-physical.
Yeah. Um, I think one of the, well, definitely ballroom dancing. I I keep up with my 20-year-old dance teacher pretty well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we do ballroom rounds, and you know, he's, sweating and, breathing, and I'm sweating and breathing, but it's like, it's not like, it's fast recovery. I can keep up with him. He's always amazed at how I can, what my body can do, and the strength to sustain it and to do it. So, a lot of technical moves that I can do that I never would have been able to do before. And I think my learning in that was early on in the method. Tracy talked about muscles being sleepy, like if they're not used, they're asleep. And so when you go to start to wake them up, they're initially challenged, but they get smart fast. And then you can do the move. And so I take that into my dancing. It's like, okay, well, I may not be able to get it the first one, first couple of times, but if I try this 3, 4, 5 times, or 7, like a 7-day routine or 10-day, I'm going to have it, my body's going to, do it, and it'll invite all of the muscles into the conversation and, do the whole thing. So I think, knowing that my body, those muscles, if I'm going to try something new, it's going to be challenged, but they'll wake up and they'll become strong fast and be able to do it. So that, my ballroom work, definitely, I wouldn't have been able to do it, I don't think, before Tracy. I don't think so. And my dance teacher's been trained on Fridays. He asks me how's Tracy torturing you this week?
That's wonderful. Yeah, that is definitely amazing, especially to just be able to apply that kind of knowledge about something physical to other things besides the method, because so often people try something and think, well, I can't do that, and they don't try it again. Exactly. But this teaches us that you have to try it a few times until you get it. And it's kind of amazing that sometimes it's like you think you physically can't do something, but something just clicks in your brain and you can do it. And there was never a physical limitation. Right. It was your own mind. Exactly. And I find that too when ballroom dancing, like my mind will actually shut me down sometimes before my body, and it's funny to make that distinction, and go, oh, okay, this is some mental work I got to do, not just physical work. Yeah. So is there a TAM move that you used to hate, which you now love? Side planks. I love doing those now. I'm stretching backwards and seeing how far back I can stretch and hold my balance and hold my shoulder in place. And also the downward extensions, arabesques. I love doing those. And I love the feeling, like before I would have just put all my weight in my shoulders and in my arms and my hands. And now I can do it and feel light in my hands. And that I love that feeling, because I know that I've strengthened myself enough to get to that. So, yeah, that is definitely an amazing element of this workout for sure. Because I mean, some of that seems absolutely impossible in the beginning, and then you think you can do it, and you really know mentally that you don't need to put all of the work into your arms and your shoulders when you're doing a move like that. Right. And I think too, like, I hear people talk about their wrists hurting, and that is part of the development of the process, because you're learning how to not put so much weight into your wrists. But I remember my wrists hurting too when I first started, because I was
just putting so much energy into my wrists. And then it's like, oh, you learn to strengthen this other part, and it takes that weight out of your wrists, and it's just so dynamic and amazing. So
yeah, that is like something especially for new people to realize. Every part of you gets stronger.
yes, yes.
You won't have the wrist pain or the shin splints or all of those kind of things that happen in the beginning, because every single fiber of every muscle is going to get stronger, and your balance and everything too, like, and where you're putting your energy, like, which is controlled by your mind, not, you know, just the physical.
Right, right. And I think too, one of the things that I do a lot of energy work. I teach meditation and that kind of thing, and looking at, you know, looking at yourself and energy. And one of the things that I am aware of when I go to the mat is, you know, we store, and all of you know this, we store pain and trauma and different emotions in the body. And so when you go to move a certain way, you're challenging that energy that sits there. You know, you're challenging it to not sit there anymore and be static. You're challenging it to move. And so sometimes when you go to approach a move and you get a strong emotion, that's you finding this pain that you're holding, you know. And so then you have to let yourself work through it to come out. But it's not like that's being created when you do the move. It's something you're finding that's already been sitting there, and you're taking it out, you know. So it's a different way of looking at it.
Absolutely, because it really is all about the mind-body connection. And when there is a physical limitation, it is usually coming from something in your mind. Like, it's incredible to have a method that can teach that and connect to other things too, like how you've talked about it connecting to ballroom dancing, and also the practice of meditation is very similar in different ways to the Tracy.
Right. Exactly.
What is something else that you have learned from Tracy which you would want to share with the Tamily?
One of the things I admire about Tracy is that she did the research. You know, she did the work, and she followed her truth. She followed her path. And I find that to be really admirable. Even if I didn't follow the method, I find that I really admire someone who goes against the grain and is willing to commit to that and do it. And, you know, she had to commit to her method, commit to herself, her truth, to continue and to do what she does, and to have this, you know, this community, to have all of this, this method available to everyone. And she had to, you know, we talk about hitting the mat every day. Well, she had to do the work every day to get to the point where we could all get to the mat every day. Right. So like, she did all the groundwork, and I, laying that path and having that stamina, you know, personal drive and commitment to herself, because that's, you know, she's talking about us having a commitment to ourselves, and she's proven that commitment to herself by developing this and by continuing with it. So I admire that about her.
Absolutely. I love that. I mean, because especially not as much now, but certainly in the years that she's been doing the method, she's, you know, one of the only people who will say you have to work out every day for the rest of your life, and speak the truth about it. There's no quick fix. There's nothing that you do this for 90 days and then you don't need to exercise anymore. I mean, that's now I'm someone who believes that's ridiculous. When before I would have thought, why would you keep working out once your body looks good enough? Like, stop.
Stop.
There's no stopping ever.
But you know what's so great is, like, your body looks great, and then you keep doing it, and then it changes again, and you're like, wow, it looks even better, or it's changed this way. And if you had stopped, you wouldn't get to see this development, you know? And so that's why I don't like results as a word, because I feel like it's just so much Like I couldn't have imagined where my body is now, like even 2 years ago,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
so it's just so, yeah, it's just such a, yeah, amazing how it just keeps going.
What would be your advice to someone who's not feeling motivated to get to the mat right now?
That's a good question. I don't think motivation really stays. It's not like a staying emotion, or it doesn't stay with you, like, but discipline stays with you. And I feel like there are days that I'm not motivated, but it's the discipline of I know I have to do this. And I also feel like doing the mat work is the foundation, and it sets the tone for everything else. So in my mind, like for me, motivation wise, if I don't feel like getting on the mat, I know that I'm going to feel like going dancing, and this is going to make me stronger as a dancer, right? So I use that, like what the method is supporting me in doing. I keep that in mind, you know? So it may not be that I want to hit the mat, but I know that I'm going to want to go dance and be successful in that. And to do that, I have to do this, you know? And so having a real connection to why you're doing it, or what this method is supporting in you and strengthening in you, I like to make it about that rather than about the mat, you know, about the workout itself.
Yeah.
Because I know some days, yeah, you just don't feel like doing it. But, you know, there's the question, do I just not feel like doing it, or am I tired, or do maybe I need something else to support me? But, you know, that check-in, I think that is how I would address motivation and discipline.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Definitely. Well, I believe that we've asked all of our planned questions for you, and questions from the chat. We're coming up on 50 minutes, so it's been, can you believe how quickly?
No.
So before we close with you, I did want to ask if there's anything else that you would like to share with the Tamily while you have this audience.
Wow, that's a great question. Well, one of the things I feel like this is such a pleasure to get asked to do this. You know, I just didn't consider myself as someone who would be asked to be part of this. So I'm really grateful and thankful for you having me on. And I don't talk to people about this workout. Like, I keep it very personal. I consider my meditation space and my workout space pretty personal. Like, I don't let people into it. Like, if someone says, oh, what do you do? I don't just unload that on them, because I feel like that's my personal space. And so it's been really nice to get to talk to you and everyone who understands, who gets it already. So I don't have to build a foundation of communications. Like, all of you guys get it. Right. And so it's such a pleasure to just get to talk about it with all of you and be like, this is my passion. This is what I love. And I know that you all have the same, and it's such a joy to get to talk about it with you. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It is like we start from a place of common ground. So it feels like, you know, you can just talk about anything, and we might have like differences across all of our, you know, backgrounds and experiences and everything, but we all start from the mat, like, together. So it does make it like a safe space, you know, so.
Yes, yes.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Elizabeth. We really appreciate you being interview 177.
Yay!
And
thank you.
The interview, for anybody that didn't get to see the whole thing, it'll go right now onto the Ask Tamily IG page, and then we'll also put it on YouTube in a few days.
Yay! Thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a great day, Elizabeth, and thanks for watching, Tamily.
See you on the mat.
See you on the mat.